Sure.
Hi, Biplab. Welcome to the Architectural Technology Podcast. I really appreciate you coming back again for the second time. Biplab Sarkar, the former CEO of Vectorworks. I'm sure you got lots of fantastic knowledge. I had some questions about BIM, and I've always believed that BIM should be open BIM. But
Mm.
there's a computer program where I live, and I won't mention it, but they say that the only BIM is their program. And to me, that goes against the whole principle of
Mhm.
building information modeling.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think OpenBIM is something that really it provides a lot of interoperability with all the other programs that are out there. Because in an architectural world, maybe you have seen it. It's always multiple products that are contributing to a project, probably in many cases, and you have to transmit data from architect to the structural engineers or the structural engineers to MEP engineers and all these people, they have to collaborate. And I think OpenBeam is very important. I think mainly people do the closed beam, as you said. It's a business strategy for them. Major software vendors, they intentionally design their platforms to use these proprietary formats and ensuring that the continued use of their products, which is like a vendor lock-in. And this can be attractive for some companies, some organizations that don't want to have their data outside a particular sphere. The value of the security and is important to them. Or government agencies, sometimes they don't want to have their data transmitted through public formats or open formats. So there is some need for closed beam, but at the same time, OpenBeam is built on open vendor neutral standards and like IFC or BCF, and it enables seamless data exchange and interoperability across different platforms and tools, regardless of who built the software or the software supplier, basically. Yeah, the Beam is not always OpenBeam because of the proprietary formats, but only OpenBeam can, in my opinion, is something that really supports the basic thought behind Beam. That is collaboration between architect, structural engineers, the MEP engineers, the contractors, subcontractors. Only if you have right now, the closed beam people, they're just giving all this, their product to everybody down the chain. Whereas imagine that it was an open beam format that everybody adopted and all the software suppliers could participate in many of the projects, and people don't have to choose or people don't have to be dictated that, okay, you have to use that particular software supplier in order to participate in this particular project, which is what I hate. But that is what has happened.
Because I know that when you were the CEO, there was that you were heavily involved in the Open BIM
Yep.
consortium.
Yep.
And so that there must have been lots of discussions in-house about what does IFC do? What should it be?
Yep.
Because one of the discussions must have been that if we import an IFC door, it becomes a Vectorworks door.
Yeah.
But it remains an IFC door.
It keeps the IFC data intact. And I know that ultimately at the end of the day, it is the data that has to be preserved. And then not only that, you should be able to query the data and figure out, okay, how do I change it? How do I edit it? And that's another thing that is missing in some of the products. And some of the other vendors, I think they just don't want to support the BCF and IFC to the full extent for fear of losing some of their customer base, I think would be my guess on that one. But I feel like it is an idea that I think everybody should participate in.
One of the arguments about building information modeling is that it gives the client the information that they can look at it in a year's time or in 10 years' time. They can look at that information. But those closed BIM program, or the one I'm thinking of anyway, they don't allow you to save that file in last year's version to give to your mechanical engineer. The mechanical engineer has to upgrade to this year's version if you're using it. And to me, that's even worse than BIM.
Yeah, I think that is their business model, is that they want the whole supply chain to be on the current format and current version. It's good from the business point of view, but at the same time, I feel like it is something that is going to go away because, as you can see, probably I would say in the recent past 2 years, the Building Smart organization as well as the overall the greater expanded neighbors of Building Smart lost a little bit of steam because it feels like the IFC is no longer the go-to format anymore for many of the projects. And I'm a little bit worried about that. But at the same time, If you look at probably one of the things that you have seen is the BIM 2.0 products, the products that are coming on, which are cloud-based on browser, and they have support for a closed BIM product as well as the open BIM format. But at the end of the day, their data is not in a file format. They're more, it is going more towards database. So people are writing the data in the form of a database or a data lake, and there'll be APIs to actually access the data from the data lake. So things are changing quite a bit. And so I feel like the IFC file format, while it is serving the OpenBeam community quite well now, but how long is it going to last in the future?
So I did work on a project for an Auckland company that makes the tray flooring. So they make heavy steel flooring and then they pour concrete on top and it becomes permanent formwork. And I taught them to get the IFC model and then they can build all their trays on top of it. And to me, that was the real beauty of Vectorworks is you could use it for so many different things. Sorry, that's off topic. But it was just that IFC, that ability to grab the IFC from the structural engineer and then build their stuff on top of it. And it was perfect. It was really easy to use. The IFC worked really well. It was just perfect.
Yeah, I think that the only issue with the IFC that I see is that it's just over the years, we just added more and more data, more and more geometry, and the files for a particular project could be 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes. And there was no way to there is a way, but it's not very streamlined that you could just read a particular portion of the file and just get the wall data, just get the roof data out of it. And so that's why people are going more towards the database nowadays and trying to get more efficient.
So we've talked about BIM. Do you have any ideas about what the future of CAD or BIM software might hold?
Yeah, I see lots of things nowadays being shaped by lots of technological advances that are happening. One of them, of course, is if I don't say AI and machine learning, then it will not be complete. But I would say that AI-driven tools, you might have seen some of them are already coming on into the BIM 2.0, like where people are doing rule-based checking using AI. Just they're coming up with efficient, what should I say, building orientation creation or building layout creation, where if you tell them, okay, in this particular strip of land, you have to create 12 rooms or 12 apartments, and how do you lay them out to get the most efficient pattern? It would come out with that and to give you the different ideations of how it will look like, as you can see with the visualizer nowadays. And so there are lots of things that AI is providing, especially the generative AI. So I feel like that's coming. And of course, the role in error detection, automatic quality checks, enhancing maybe the simulation of the lighting and the wind and all those kind of things. So there is a big amount of things that are coming that will basically going to automate some of the architectural workflows that I feel like it's coming. It's not there yet, but probably it will be there very soon. The other part, of course, is, as you can see in the BIM 2.0 products, that they're all cloud-based platform, and the real-time collaboration, like the project sharing in Vectorworks. It took us a long time to get there, but the real-time collaboration is a given in the BIM 2.0 products, and because they have the technological ability to accommodate this kind of editing of the same file at the same time by multiple users. So real-time collaboration, version control, and easier integration with cloud services, these are all given nowadays in the modern BIM products. So that's coming. And of course, sustainability is another thing that you have to mention nowadays. Sustainability is a major driver. CAD and BIM tools are increasingly equipped with analytics to assess environmental impact, optimize energy use, support compliance with net zero and grid building standards. So all of those things are coming. And I feel like the automation and robotics is another thing that people always mention in the construction area, where robots can carry loads and supply and have a lot of dexterity in terms of taking things from one place to another. And of course, we are going towards more and more automation, as I feel like, and using more modern technology in doing so.
The sustainability is a big thing, I think. I'm not sure about America, but I know in other parts, particularly Australia and New Zealand, sustainability is becoming a big topic. I'm trying to get an interview with a local company, and they do heavy timber construction. It's not cross-laminated timber, it's LVL, laminated veneer lumber,
Right.
and they're parallel, so that they're like plywood, but each ply is going in the same direction, that they're trying to work out how much carbon is sequestered in that material so
Mhm.
they can then use that to offset whatever other construction is going on. And that's where we're heading, I think, with our sustainability, those kinds of things. Big question I wanted to ask you, because I wanted to hear all this information from you, but I've been teaching architectural technologists or draftsmen. They come on to become architects, but they're going to be our future architects.
Yep.
And we're seeing massive changes at the moment. So what do you think we should teach them to get them ready?
I think I was thinking about that. I think it feels like we need more digital literacy. If you go to a construction site nowadays, you will see some people traveling with some iPads or some sort of, whether it's based on iOS or whatever, but it is there. They have these different equipments or their screens they're traveling with, and they have the whole design that they're looking at. And I can see that more and more in the Scandinavian countries as well as in parts of Europe. I see that coming. But here in the United States, there's still so much based on paper and blueprints still. And I feel like that is going to have to go, and they have to learn advanced skills in digital literacy, because they have to learn about having to look up a design on your iPad and mark up things and collaborate with others and know about generative design, parametric modeling, algorithmic aided design, computational design for, like, when you go to Japan, you have to figure out what is the wind flow effect between the two towers that you are creating and stuff like that. And in addition to that, of course, the AI and machine learning and data analysis, these are all coming into picture. And so the more you can do in going towards cloud-based collaboration, the more you can do towards this digital literacy, as I call them, I think the better your students would be in the future.
I'm worried about my students now, Biplab, because some of them didn't know how to use Dropbox.
Oh,
Or some of them don't know how to use a tab in Microsoft Windows. That's it. So we need to actually give the students that digital literacy before we start teaching them architectural technology.
yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's very important because more and more we're going to hear these technologies. Digital twins is another one with the IoT integration and the sensors in the buildings, and to give you the occupancy, the atmosphere inside the building, the climate inside the room. All of these things are now getting transmitted to your local console, and you're just looking at it and making decisions based on those. And you have to know these technological advances. Otherwise, one day will come when everything is tied to these machines. And so yeah, you have to be literate. You have to have the experience with these machines.
I know that you said that buildings are still built from blueprints, and we still convey our detailed designs to our
Yes.
contractors with 2D details.
Yep.
And one of the things that I've always struggled with is that we need to get someone skilled in communicating that 2D information. And so I used to make my students learn 2D drafting with a
Yeah.
pencil,
Yeah.
because I figure if I can get them to communicate effectively with a pencil, they can take that skill and communicate effectively with a CAD program. So that was my thought.
No, I think you're right. There are certain parts of the world that still have the same workflows that you have, and it will take some time to get out of that. But I feel like it is still there. The detailed designs are still very important to many of the construction processes.
In order to get a consent to build the building, we need to present digital blueprints. We
Yes.
have to submit them digitally,
Yeah.
but they're basically just blueprints on. And how do they check to make sure that buildings are compliant? They look at the details. They get their red pen out, or they write you a letter saying this doesn't comply or that doesn't comply. So we're still at that stage where consenting needs to change so that we can change the delivery method.
I think that's why I was telling you, like, I have seen that the 3D delivery is something that, especially the Scandinavian world, they are actually standardizing on those. You submit the IFC model, and they are going to do all their coordination, all their detailed design, all their construction workflows based on the 3D model and not looking at the 2D as such. And then they're doing the compliance checking and using many of the automated workflows, like some AI components I'm seeing nowadays that AI program is going to just go through your model and check for all the compliance rules that in that local jurisdiction. And things are changing, but whether that whole workflow is going to percolate and come to the whole world, we'll see how long it takes.
One of the arguments I had about closed BIM was, what happens in 5 years' time when you try to open up that model, or 10 years' time? We were told that BIM would be the life of the building. My building's over 50 years old. When you look at the drawings that this was drawn on, what computer were we using 50 years ago? We weren't. And in 50 years' time, it staggers me that we think that we can design a software object today that we think in even 15 years' time, we're still going to use our computer program for.
Things are changing so dramatically. Yeah, it is hard to envision how things are going to be. Also, the culture is changing in the architectural world. I think it's not only the technology, but more and more people are. One of the things that I think in the discussion that you have is that how should the architects look forward to this kind of changes? I think this is something very important because they have to keep up. One of the things that I learned when I came from the mechanic to the architectural CAD world is that it's lagging a little bit always from the mechanical world. The mechanical world, as you can see, it started with the browser-based CAD program long back and had the real-time collaboration already there and for a long time. And it took us some time to catch up with that. And now we are there. And then how long will it take us to actually to get there en masse? Right now, it is only a few people that are using the BIM 2.0 products, but is it going to be in 5 years or 10 years that all that people are going to transition into the world of browsers and cloud-driven collaboration and AI-based compliance checking and all this kind of thing? It'll be interesting to see, but it certainly is something that will be in our lifetime for sure.
So if you use the BIM 2.0 cloud-based, then lots of people could be using the same kernel or the same engine and then have a different interface. So it could look like Vectorworks, or it could look like Revit, or it could look like something Onshape, is it? It could look like one of those things, but actually the model stored, the database stored on the cloud could actually probably be read by those other.
Yes, basically what you'll have is you have a database or a data lake, and you will expose certain APIs to actually get hold of that data, access that data, and you'll be able to get that and make your decisions based on that API. So I think, there'll be a time when we're not going to talk about files anymore. We're going to talk about, I can use that API to get the door or Windows data from Vectorworks and out to this scheduling program, which can then do the scheduling for me. And so that's the way I think it'll go in the future.
Wow. So I've got to thank you again, Biplab. I've really enjoyed having a chat to you. You've been so generous with your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you very much. I've learned lots.
I think it was great to talk to you after so long because I've been trying to talk to you for a long time.
Oh, thanks very much.